Hello, my name is Armando Villaseca, and welcome to Education. Join the conversation. Today, the topic will be pre-K and early ed. And with me today, I have some distinguished folks who work with preschool children in different programs in Burlington for the State Department and at the YMCA. What I have here is an opportunity for the public to learn more about pre-K in Vermont. We have Governor Shumlin, who is an incredible advocate of providing more and better and higher quality pre-K programs for all children, and here we have folks who will describe what those look like. To my right is Manuela Fonseca, who works for the Agency of Education and is our early childhood specialist. To her left is Ruth Kagle, the early childhood educator for the Sustainability Academy in Burlington. To her left is Caryn Zambrano, the preschool teacher, head teacher, at the Greater Burlington YMCA. And to my right is Meg Edmunds, the director of preschool programs at the YMCA. Welcome.
Thank you.
Manuela, I'm going to start with you to give us a little bit of an overview of pre-K in the state, some of the exciting things that are occurring, including the summit that will be coming up at some point soon.
Well, let me start with the summit.
Yes.
Governor Shumlin is hosting a summit, an early childhood summit, which is happening the end of this month on the 29th. And it will be an opportunity to share a framework for early childhood education. And that will be revealed at that time and has been formulated over the last 6 months or so with input from the population around the state. So that summit is coming up. It's going to be providing first a framework, but then trying to get a statewide action plan in which we'll be able to coordinate our efforts across all areas, not just early education, but also early care, and also social services and other kinds of services that impact young children and their families. So that's coming up. I wanted to just lay the foundation for the conversation by saying that pre-kindergarten education has existed in Vermont for several years, but it was formally started through the passage of Act 62, so that we basically, the legislature and the governor, agreed that we should be using public school funding in order to support young children 3 to 5. In a variety of settings. Some are in public schools in terms of pre-K program, others are in community-based programs like the Y and other nonprofit and for-profit early childhood center programs, as well as family childcare programs, and also partnerships with Head Start. So there's a number of folks who are involved in providing high-quality pre-K education for Vermont's children. By last count, we had almost 6,000 children in Vermont between the ages of 3 and 5 participate in publicly funded pre-K. And so it's growing consistently. However, it's still not mandated that children attend, nor is it mandated that towns provide pre-K, although the very vast majority of all of our towns and cities have pre-K to some degree and have that as an option for families to choose to send their child or not. I think that probably the important thing is to try to clarify what exactly pre-K is. And so I'm looking to my colleagues over here to talk about exactly what do they do, what is their program like, and to provide an image of what pre-K looks like, because not everyone is familiar with what it actually exists. They think it's, oh, is it all play? They think, is it academic? Is it learning your letters and numbers and all that kind of thing? So I think that would be helpful for folks to understand what it looks like.
Yes, and I think that we're going to have that opportunity with folks. But I also want to say, Manuela, that you have been instrumental in making sure that all the communities are looking at initiating pre-K programs in their communities, not just in their schools. and anyone around the pre-K world in Vermont knows you as somebody who's a staunch supporter and an advocate for early education. So I want to thank you for what you do. And we still have a long way to go, but if it wasn't for your help, we wouldn't be where we are.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Ruth, so now you work in a school. So tell us a little bit about what your pre-K program looks like, where you're at, and maybe give us a snapshot, at least for those folks, of what is a typical day, as long as anything else that you'd like to tell us.
Okay. Well, I'm the preschool teacher at the Sustainability Academy at Lawrence Barnes in Burlington. We are a fairly new program. We opened in September of 2011. And I work for the Burlington School District, but we also collaborate with Head Start. There's a Head Start early care advocate in our classroom. And we also collaborate with Shelburne Farms because they also have been working with the Sustainability Academy, and that has really allowed us to enrich our curriculum with that sustainability lens, and also to tap into the resources that Shelburne Farms has to offer. We were able to open the program because of funding support from the Vermont Community Preschool Collaborative. And their mission is really to increase access to pre-K education throughout Vermont, and I don't believe that would have happened without their support.
And those are private funders who help communities come up with revenues to begin programs.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, and that really allowed us to open that and our collaboration. So much of the curriculum that we offer, as I mentioned, really does have that lens of sustainability. We try and connect a lot of our work to the environmental education and to place-based education within our community. So that might mean that if we're looking at something in our classroom at the beginning of the year, we were exploring colors and shapes, a pretty typical preschool thing to be looking at as we learn to use our tools and materials in the classroom, but that we extended that learning. We went outside and went on a shape hunt in the school playground. So we're looking for rectangles, we find them in the bricks, or we're looking for circles, we find them in the sunflowers that are growing. So really connecting that learning inside and outside the classroom is an important part of what we do in the program, and also connecting to our community. So in a few weeks we will begin a long grain to bread unit. Shelburne Farms will provide us with grain grinders and wheat. We will thresh the wheat, we will grind it, we will make flour, we will make breads, a variety of breads from around the world, which reflect the diversity of our classroom cultures as well. But we will also visit a local bakery and see what happens there. We will visit our local stores and find the different breads that are for sale there, so that children are really creating those big connections between what happens in the classroom, what happens in their home lives, what happens in the community, and where our food comes from the farms. So that's a big part of our focus.
It's wonderful that Burlington, and particularly the Sustainability Academy, has that relationship with Shelburne Farms.
It is.
Have worked with them. It's not just the pre-K, it's the entire school that they provide support. And
absolutely.
You know,
and professional development
and
for
professional
us as
development,
teachers, which has been invaluable.
Right.
It really
And it's
has.
a beautiful school.
It is.
It really is.
It really is.
Thank you. So I'm going to jump over Caryn, because we had agreed to this before. Meg, you want to tell us a little bit about your role as a director, what some of the things that are happening at the Y, and and how you serve children.
So the YMCA is the largest provider of child care in the state of Vermont. Our early childhood programs serve well over 300 children in Chittenden County. We also have a program in Franklin County. We serve children 0 to 5. We have been in Burlington for about 37 years. We've run our program, and we are a play-based program focusing on Vermont Early Learning Standards in Vermont that is all based on play. We also are a nationally accredited program through the National Association of the Education of Young Children, where it's a higher national recognition of high quality for our program, which we are very, very proud of. All of our programs are NACE accredited. We also are in a partnership with Burlington School District, as well as 4 other school districts through Act 62, which is expected of us to have a high-quality program. We have licensed teachers in our programs as part of that requirement. We also have the opportunity to participate in professional development through those partnerships.
With the
as
district,
well.
in the districts?
With the
Great.
districts, we partner with them to provide professional development for all of us, for across the board. And one thing we've been focusing on in recent years is making the connection between pre-K and kindergarten. And what does that mean? What does that look like? What does a child need to know in order to enter kindergarten? And we've worked closely over the past couple of years, in particular with South Burlington kindergarten teachers, and formed a partnership with them to have those discussions and conversations about what they're looking for and what we as preschool teachers and early educators should be doing to prepare them to kindergarten. And what it's come down to is that socialization skills are what is most important in order for a child to succeed.
And I think that those partnerships of sharing information, it should be going on more.
Absolutely.
And Ruth, I was going to ask you. I'll ask you later on about that relationship between the pre-K program and the kindergarten teachers in Burlington as well. So Caryn, you're a preschool. You're the head teacher in the preschool program, and not to embarrass you, but you were a student of mine when I was a principal, and it's not an embarrassment. It's a good thing. It's a wonderful connection we have. But tell us a little bit about your program and some of the things that you do. And I wanted you to take a little bit further the play-based component, because I don't want people to think that it's play for the sake of playing. It's playing, but it's more than that.
Yes. Well, we are play-based because children learn best through play. It's what they do. It's their way of understanding the world. Through play, they learn how to interact socially, they learn problem-solving skills, they learn creativity, and a number of other things. Teachers teach through play in an intentional way. We will take pieces from the early learning standards and we will integrate them into play with children.
Okay.
So if a child really loves dinosaurs, for example, I will be right down on the floor playing with dinosaurs, and we might have our dinosaurs talking about size of dinosaurs, comparing I'm a big dinosaur, you're a little dinosaur. We might be talking about a social problem that has happened in the classroom and trying to find a way to resolve the conflict. We might be role-playing how to ask a friend to play, or inviting somebody to play an activity that the children are really interested in. We may be counting dinosaurs, looking at their footprints, counting the different number of toes that they have. We might be actually asking questions of, what is this dinosaur and how could we find out? And actually going and getting a book and looking it up together. You might be making a sign that says, this is the velociraptor and it does this, this, and this. So it's really looking at what kids are interested in and really meeting them where they're at and kind of developing a framework to build up their knowledge.
Plus, they enjoy doing it because it is that there is that connection, the connection between the student and the teacher, or children amongst themselves. And I think one of the things that we've done in education in general is too much focus on assessment and made school less interesting and less active and alive. So it's great to hear
It's a lot of fun.
that's going on. But I also believe that socialization piece. Many children are coming, that transition to kindergarten from preschool, or if they've never been to a preschool, that socialization is important, about learning, sort of how a classroom works, lining up, all those things that are part of a school, whether we like it or not. Manuela, I want to ask you a question. Vermont Early Learning Standards has come up at least twice.
Yes.
You want to just give us a little bit of what that is?
Sure. The Vermont Early Learning Standards were published in 2003, and it was created with a lot of input from the early childhood field. So it's actually created by with early childhood educators from across the state. back then, and it lays out what are the expectations of what children prior to going to kindergarten, so essentially it's from 3 to 5-year-olds, prior to going to kindergarten, what is the expectations of what they know and are able to do. And it's really guided a lot of our programs, especially our pre-K programs, because one of the requirements of all pre-K programs is that regardless of what curricula you use, and there are very many models out there, you know, there's the Montessori, there's Reggio Emilia inspired, I mean, there's a whole host of different types, but regardless of what kind of curriculum, which we don't stipulate which one you have to, but you have to demonstrate that it addresses the Vermont early learning standards, which are, at that time, were also aligned with the what we had at that stage, which was the framework of standards and learning opportunities. So those were developed shortly after we had our K-12 frameworks of standards and learning opportunities. So it piggybacked a bit on that and also incorporated the Head Start performance standards that were in action at that time. We're currently in the process of revisiting and updating our Vermont early learning standards, but they have been used widely, not just as a requirement for pre-K programs funded through through the education funding, and but also that we have used them in IEP, development of individualized education plans for young children who have special needs. So that it really has provided a really strong, commonly shared set of expectations for children that we can all go back to. So the revision is in process. We began about a year ago, and we're hoping to finish those and have them out for public comment, hopefully by the end of this year, beginning of 2014, the latest. And those are going to be looking rather different because they're going to, in contrast to the VELs currently, which stipulates what's expected by kindergarten entry, what these are going to do are actually go from infancy up through third grade.
Third grade, that's
so
right.
that we have a full continuum of standards across the way, which then makes some early childhood educators nervous because Vermont has adopted the Common Core state standards, and the belief that the concern that perhaps we're going to be actually making pre-K more like the Common Core standards in kindergarten than otherwise. But what I think happens is that we're actually going to be informing each other so that we'll be looking at the foundational skills that move into the Common Core state standards. And in contrast to some educators in Vermont, I actually think the Common Core state standards are a good thing because what it does is really get at the essence of language arts. It talks about, for example, it's important for kids to talk with each other because how else do you learn how to speak and listen with attention? It also talks about, obviously, the reading and writing, but it looks at it holistically. About math, it's not just rote counting, it's how do you think about numbers and how do you put those in place. So it's actually, in some ways, it's getting to the kind of depth and investigation that we're hoping we see in pre-K programs when we talk about the kind of investigation that Ruth was talking about in terms of the bread thing. Much more in-depth knowledge that is going to is really going to get at what's valuable for kids to learn as opposed to just simply mimicking or rote memorization or things of that nature. So I think it offers a wonderful opportunity. But we need to be really vigilant to ensure that we take advantage of that opportunity in a developmentally appropriate manner for young kids.
And the rules that you were describing are approved by the State Board of Education. And just so that folks know that when we talk about standards, the curriculum and curricula is really a local decision that occurs at the district level or at the school level. So all we do is set out those standards.
Right.
And I want to be clear that we're not writing the curriculum for the programs.
Right. I don't think they'd let us anyway.
No, I don't think and we don't have the capacity. So, but now, Ruth, you're now you work in a public school in a pre-K program. Tell me about the collaboration with maybe with the kindergarten teachers as you start looking at. I know it's only been there for 2 years, but that work of how do you prepare children for what the expectations are of the kindergarten teacher and how do they share with you what the work that they would like to see in kids coming in.
I think it happens in multiple ways. For the children who come to a classroom that's located in the school, just getting comfortable with just the building and the staff is really helpful to them. Walking to take attendance to the school secretary and getting to know her, meeting the principal. We make visits to the library to get books. Those kinds of experiences just build that comfort level for our children in the school and develop a sense of ownership in the school. And the Sustainability Academy is a wonderful school in terms of community building. There's a lot of community involvement, very intentional support of community involvement, and I think our children and families pretty quickly come to feel a part of something, and that is just enormously helpful. When it comes time to be thinking about kindergarten transitions, we also speak with families about where they would like to see their children going. Many of our children do stay at the Sustainability Academy for kindergarten, but some do not.
Could you explain why? Just folks may not know why some would stay there and some don't. Could you explain that?
Because there is school choice at the elementary school level in Burlington, so it's not related to where families live. In addition, the Sustainability Academy at Lawrence Barnes and the Integrated Arts Academy at H.O. Wheeler are both magnet schools, and so the application process for those schools work a little differently. The curriculum is a little different, and parents make a choice to send their children to those schools. The Sustainability Academy now, I know that this past year had a wait list for their kindergarten. It was a very popular choice for many families, and entry into our preschool did not guarantee entry into the kindergarten program, although, as I said, many children did in fact go on to kindergarten in the school, which allowed me also to meet with kindergarten teachers at the end of last year and speak to them about every child that they would be receiving in some depth in terms of their skills, their strengths, their challenges, their interests, and also speak about what might be an appropriate placement between the two kindergarten classrooms, because I knew who was friends with who might need support from a friend, a shy child, a child who didn't yet have a lot of English, might want another child with the same home language in that classroom, or children who rubbed each other up the wrong way and might be better not in the same classroom. That's useful information to convey. We also shared our data from Teaching Strategies Gold, which is the assessment system that we use, so that the kindergarten team was able to really look at that and have a really good look at our children's, where they were developmentally across a range of markers. And for children who were not going on to the Sustainability Academy and going to other schools, we also shared that data with them so that those receiving teachers had a lot of information on our children when they were coming.
So you were directly involved in as the placement, if you will, of children in the kindergarten, the two different kindergarten classes. You were able to give input.
I did not have the last word.
No, of course not. I know you didn't.
I certainly was able to give input, which I understand was certainly helpful. And then the final piece of that, the other side of that, when that transition is happening and children are starting school in the fall, it's really an incredible comfort for many children and families to see the preschool classroom, to say hello to the preschool teacher, I have a child who loves to come in and visit because she has a younger sibling who's now in our classroom. So that continuity and that sense of community that develops is just really helpful to all concerned.
Yeah. Now, Caryn, you're in a off-site program, obviously the YMCA. Are you involved with when the transition occurs? Because I also know you guys have kindergarten there.
But we did.
You did?
Yes.
You no longer have that, okay.
No.
Okay, well good, then thank you for 'cause I remember when I was a principal, there were some children that used to go through there and then come to our schools. We had a half-day program and it didn't work out for the parents. But are you involved with the transitioning of children into kindergarten? Are either of you? How does that work? I understand how it works if you're in the school,
Right.
but you're outside of the school. So either one of you can help me with that.
Well, Caryn works with toddlers, so not yet.
Okay,
but she's
not yet. Okay.
involved with moving the children up to the next class.
Okay.
So our involvement as far as transitioning children for kindergarten is one, like I already mentioned, having those conversations with the kindergarten teachers in our community and developing those relationships with them through Teaching Strategies Gold, as Ruth mentioned. That is a key factor, I think, in really discovering who the child is and where they're at developmentally.
You want to give us a 30-second,
Yes.
meaning that we only have a couple minutes left, what the teaching strategy goal is?
Sure. So Teaching Strategies Gold is an assessment that we use across the state of Vermont, and it's an observation-based assessment. So it's not having the child sit
Great.
down and take a test. It is done hands-on in the classroom by the classroom teacher and assistant teachers, whoever wants to pick up a pencil and make an observation, and the observations are objective. And it is based on 34 criteria or objectives.
Actually, 50.
50?
50 if you count all of the...
All of them.
All of them.
All of them. So the teachers will take all those observations, put them into an online system, and then once their observations are put in, they have a developmental continuum that they, with checkpoints that they go and see where the child meets based on their observations. And it is a fantastic tool because it is for children 0 to age 5. It's also great because it's for children of all developmental levels, children receiving IEP, or who are on IEPs, receiving special ed services, and then typically developing children as well. So kindergarten teachers do have access to those, and those have been, I've gotten feedback in recent years, it's been a very, very helpful tool for them. As well as the districts will send out kindergarten readiness kind of checklists, where they're at socially. Do they have the self-help skills? Where are they socially and emotionally? And then, you know, we do really have some strong connections, being that we are in partnerships for Act 62. We really have those solid connections with the districts and specific teachers. And, you know, it's simple as picking up the phone and making a call on either end, on our end or from the district's end, to call us and ask about particular children.
Because I was going to say that it's probably a little, I don't want to say easier, but Ruth is in the building with, or at least in the same district, where you are not. So, and you deal with multiple districts, not
Sure.
just Burlington.
Sure.
So that must add a little bit of a challenge for that ease of communication.
Sure, sure. It does. And, you know, I think we are fortunate enough in the Y to have access to many, many resources in the community and with the districts, that we do have those connections set in place. So we do have that ability to, again, have those conversations with the teachers. And, you know, some of us have children in those districts that we already have those connections, so it's easy to do.
Right. Great. So now, Caryn, you work with younger students than
Yes.
than the ones who are ready to enter kindergarten. But do you work as a team with the other teachers? And again, when children go, when I go from your class to Meg's class, you have that opportunity to share my strengths, my challenges, what I'm interested in, all those.
Yep, and we actually, I talked to teachers who have had siblings of a child, and just to find out sort of what the children typically were like, or what they were really interested in, and so it helps me kind of come up with some new ideas of things to try in the classroom.
And just out of curiosity, and I think for folks, myself and others, how many children are in your particular class?
I have 8
Okay.
at any time.
At any one time. And are they half day? I mean, how does
It's
that?
a half-day
It's a
program.
half day
Yep.
program. Ruth, in Burlington, is your program?
We have a morning and an afternoon program with a maximum of 15 children in the classroom at any one time.
Right. I did want to mention the VCPC. Somebody mentioned it before, the Vermont Community Partnership, which has been instrumental in making sure that communities around the state have had access, be able to get the resources to start pre-K programs. And we continue to partner with them. And they have, I did want to mention them in our little time we had. I know we're running out of time, and I'm sure there are things that I didn't ask, or things that you might want to share with folks. And in the last couple of minutes I think that we have, is there anything that you might want to, Manuela or others, share with folks that we haven't discussed?
I think I just wanted to highlight that both of the programs that are represented here, as all pre-K programs around the state, they all have to meet high criteria and standards in order to be able to offer pre-K. So not all programs that are early care and education programs meet those high standards. And the high standards include, as was mentioned several times, that the curriculum needs to address the Vermont Early Learning Standards. Also needs to be part of our program quality system in Vermont, either NACE accreditation, as MEG and YMCA has, or at least have 4 to 5 stars in our Vermont recognition program, as well as have a licensed teacher who's endorsed in early childhood or early childhood special education. So those are the basic criteria and requirements for any program, whether it be a public school program, a community-based program, either a center or a family child care program, or a Head Start center that would like to participate and provide pre-K. So those are commonalities. I think that one of the challenges that we're going to have in the coming years is to ensure that we have strategies and resources to enable more early care and education programs to provide pre-K, so that we can make certain that we have opportunities for all of Vermont's children who would like to participate in pre-K, because right now we're not there. So that is one of the challenges that I see happening in the next couple of years in order for us to provide access to all those children, because we do know that pre-K and quality early education really makes a difference for young children, not only to be successful in kindergarten and ready for kindergarten. I don't really care for that term very much. Not only successful in kindergarten, but also in further on into the entire K-12 system and careers even. So we do have that kind of information, so we need to be thinking about that in a way of how can we get there.
And Manuela, I know that, I'm not sure, one of you mentioned earlier that Burlington has about a 60% rate of children participating in pre-K. Statewide, the number is?
It's lower. It's about 45% of 3 to 5-year-olds participate in publicly funded pre-K in one setting or another.
Yes.
Because there are a multitude, as I mentioned, of settings, but yes.
And I'd like to close with that. First of all, I want to thank you all for joining me here. But I do want folks to understand that in order for children to be successful, not just in kindergarten, Manuela's right, it's not about kindergarten, it's about being successful in their schooling. We need to have a strong pre-K program. We need more than 40-some-odd% of our statewide kids. We need to be closer to the 60% number that Burlington has. Ultimately, 100% would be the goal. And I think that if you look at our success in school depends so much on how children are, how they enter school, the experiences they've had before they enter school. And when we look at our graduation rates, the better children are prepared to enter school, the more successful they'll be, the more comfortable they'll be in their education, the better they'll feel about themselves, and hopefully will then graduate from high school and continue their education. Just a statistic that 90% of our 23-year-olds and under who are incarcerated in Vermont correctional facilities do not have a high school diploma. If we could ensure that more students were graduating from high school, we could have fewer incarcerated folks, which costs money and has an incredible impact on families and children. So this year, our legislators will be looking at a pre-K bill, and I encourage anyone who is watching this to contact their legislators, contact the governor's office, contact my office to share your support for providing better, stronger, and more equitable programs for all children around the state. So thank you all very much, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month on Education. Join the conversation.